Hi, my name is David Bourassa, and I'm a mechanical engineer. I'm the healthcare principal for Cleary Zimmerman Engineers. Today we'll be answering your burning questions for MEP engineering related to healthcare facilities in a series called MEP 101. So let's get started with our first question. What does it mean to specialize in healthcare as an engineer? For me personally, it means that I'll have to be looking at a whole nother set of codes and regulations that is state specific for healthcare facilities. So I kind of try to determine quickly with the architect what the space will be used for, whether it's going to be a surgery center or a outpatient or an inpatient, exam rooms, a recovery area. So quickly we need to identify what the space is going to be used for. So then I can start giving recommendations and consulting about the best approach for the building as far as MEP infrastructure goes. Like what type of mechanical systems are we going to use, plumbing systems, do we need a generator, or where we're going to put the generator, those sorts of things. Next question I have is, what is a unique challenge you face in designing MEP systems for healthcare facilities? So unique challenges. I think every project is just a little bit different, specifically when you get into healthcare. So whether if it's new construction or if it's a renovation, I think we really have to pay attention to the owner needs, what the patients are going to need, and then also the hospital workers and the safety for them. I think we always got to be cognizant of safety for the patient, safety for the healthcare workers, and meeting the regulations that the state requires for healthcare facilities. For example, if we go into an existing building, is the MEP infrastructure adequate to support the renovated project? If we're putting an OR in a space that wasn't used for an operating room, do we have enough power? Do we have enough HVAC? Do we have enough plumbing, med gas, all those sorts of things? So those are some of the challenges I see from day to day. So for our next question we have is, how do you make sure the power never goes out in a hospital, and how do you keep the patients safe? So this one's a little bit unique in that every hospital is required to have generators. And then even taking a step further, every hospital is required to have what we call different branches of power. So there's a critical branch, a life safety branch, and an equipment branch. And then there's normal power just for general power use. So those three branches that I mentioned, those are mandated to be generator backed. So in a case of an event of Snowmageddon or something like that, we do have a generator and we do have power providing to the facility. Our next question is, are there any unique MEP systems that go into designing a healthcare facility? Yes, I would think every system that we do is going to be unique when compared to just a general commercial building. From the mechanical system, electrical system, and plumbing system. Plumbing system, you're going to have your medical gases, your oxygen, vacuum lines, stuff like that. And then for mechanical systems, they're totally different than a commercial building. We're going to have increased air changes, increased air filtration. You'll have like a pre-filter before the air handler, a post-filter after air handler. And then for electrical systems, instead of just having normal power for the entire building, you'll have normal power, and then the three branches of power: the life safety, the critical, and the equipment branch. And you'll have generators. So yes, there's very unique systems when it comes to healthcare specific buildings that we all have to account for. Our next question is, how to tackle the hygiene and infection control aspect when designing MEP systems. So this is more specifically looking at, I think, the mechanical system when dealing with infectious control. So our number one thing that we try to always achieve and implement is bringing in, one is outside air, so that's going to be ventilation to the space. So when you increase the outside air, you decrease the likelihood of contaminants getting to patients and other healthcare workers. And then the second thing is filtration. So it's required in the hospital that you'll have to have typically 2 spots where you're doing filtering. That's going to be one right before the air handler, the indoor unit, and then one right after the air handler. So those are the two different ways. So increased air filtration, increased ventilation with the required air changes per hour in each room. Those are the 2 main ways we handle infectious control. So our next question we have here is, what are the latest MEP design systems being integrated into healthcare facilities? So this is, I feel like, a hot topic that I've been seeing a lot when I visit conferences and other kind of thought leaders for the industry. And it is kind of changing the industry as a whole and making the patient care experience exactly that, an experience when you walk into a hospital. So some of these things, some of the new technologies that I'm seeing are kind of treating a hospital like you're entering a luxury resort. From the moment you park to the moment you're in a patient bed and room, that the thought leaders are really worried about your experience. And that's the feedback we're getting from patients. So how do we implement these things? We implement these things through different technology. Your control system. So instead of having just a typical building automation system that takes care of, mechanical controls, air conditioning, lights, nurse call, they're taking it a step further and seeing how those systems can integrate into the patient. So when a patient walks into the room, maybe your thermostat turns on for that patient's room, or the light settings react when the patient enters. So those are the main things. That's kind of like what we're seeing. It's always the give and take, push and pull on folks trying to push towards having a more experience-based health care provided service versus just actually this is what we need to do to provide safe and good service. So next up, what is your favorite aspect about working in the healthcare sector? So my wife's a nurse, and we always kind of talk about her experiences and her workday versus my experiences. And I think what I enjoy most is when I get a new project and we're renovating a space, or we're adding imaging equipment, or I walked a bone marrow transplant recovery area. I'll always ask her questions on hey, what does this exactly mean if something I don't understand, or new imaging equipment, or a different type of patient care. I think I enjoy most learning about those different types of healthcare specialties and how it relates to my job. For another question that we have, how do renovations in healthcare facilities differ from new construction projects? So renovations in healthcare facilities is probably one of the most difficult projects that our firm can see, just because there's so many different codes and regulations that we have to meet, and there's many systems that layer on top of each other. And if the building doesn't have any as-built drawings, any existing MEP drawings, then we have to look above ceiling and confirm all these systems while maintaining infectious control in an occupied hospital. Can be challenging and difficult. So oftentimes we'll come during unoccupied hours and those things. And then also it seems like the hospital systems and the owners are always pushing to turn a non-patient care area into a patient care area just because they need the space. And sometimes the MEP infrastructure is not set up to do that. So we definitely have to be kind of clever, unique, and it's very challenging for us to sometimes extend that MEP infrastructure to handle those new renovated areas. For another question, what is the most complex type of healthcare facility that I've designed? So I would have to say that is a inpatient pharmacy in an existing hospital that was in basically the basement. So I think there was 1 or 2 levels above us before we got to the ground level. So the reason why this was so challenging was we were taking an old non-patient admin area and we were converting it into a fully inpatient, so hazardous compounding and sterile hazardous compounding pharmacy. I think the total square footage was approximately 10 to 12,000 square feet, and all compounding inpatient pharmacy. This was really challenging because we had to adhere to USP 797 and USP 800 requirements, meaning 30 to 40 air changes in some of these rooms, all HEPA filtered air, very, very tight on temperature control, humidity control, pressure relationship was down to 0.02 inches water column between spaces. So being in an existing working hospital, implementing new air handlers, new exhaust systems, power, plumbing, and converting just basically an admin space into a full inpatient pharmacy with all these different compounding and hazardous drugs was probably the most challenging one I've done to date. And that was our last question. Thanks for watching and see you next time.